Now, in the last lesson, we installed Android Studio and we installed the Flutter and Dart plugins. So if you missed out on that, be sure to head back to the last lesson to see how we now have this link on the Android Studio welcome screen, which allows us to start a new Flutter project. So once you're ready, go ahead and click on this to build your very first Flutter app. So we're going to choose a Flutter application and click Next. And you're going to give your project a name. Let's just call it testing_app. And then make sure that the Flutter SDK path is listed here as the one that matches what you have on your system. So Android Studio is usually clever enough to pick up what the path is that you set in your path variable 2 lessons ago. And if you haven't, then be sure to take a look at that video to see how we set this up. Alternatively, you can also specify a path by clicking on these 3 dots, and you can choose the location where your Flutter SDK is located. But either way, just be sure that it can get access to the Flutter package. Now, the project location is where this current project is going to be saved, and it doesn't really matter where you save it because we're going to delete it shortly anyways. This is just for testing to see if we can get it all up and running and make sure that we've done all the setup correctly. So once you're ready, click on Next, and you can leave the company domain as example.com and go ahead and click Finish to build your first Flutter app. Now, once that's done, you should see a file called main.dart open up in Android Studio, and this already has some sample code that the Flutter team has written to be able to build a really simple counter app. Now, in order to run it on Android, we're going to need an emulator. And the way that we get an emulator is by going to the AVD manager. So it's the one right over here. It's got the little Android icon and a little phone icon combined. And if you click on it, it should take you to set up a new virtual device. Now, in terms of performance, I recommend choosing a Nexus device. So for example, the Nexus 6 or the 6P. Once you've chosen it, go ahead and click Next, and now you get to choose an operating system. Now, if you've already installed an operating system, then you should be able to simply select it and click Next, but otherwise simply click on the download button for the operating system of your choice and just let it download and install. Now, this might take about 5 to 10 minutes, but just be patient and it should be done soon. Now, once that's complete, go ahead and click Finish, and you can now choose that new operating system that you downloaded and installed. So now we can go ahead and click Next. And here you can give your AVD a name or choose whether if you want to have the device frame. But most importantly, you're going to enable hardware acceleration by going under the emulated performance drop-down list and switching your graphics from automatic to hardware accelerated. And this is going to make your emulator run so much faster. So this is why we chose a Nexus device rather than a Pixel device. So once you're done over here, go ahead and click Finish, and you're now all done with setting up your virtual device. Now, if you want to give it a go and see what it looks like, then go ahead and click on the play button right here, and your chosen emulator should now launch. And here it is. Here's our brand new emulated device. So now I'm going to close down this window, but remember you can always get back to it just by clicking on that icon over there, which is your AVD manager. Now, at this point, I want to test out this sample code that the Flutter team has created, and I'm going to test it onto my virtual device. So over here is where you choose the device that you want to test it onto. A little bit later on, after we create our first app, we're going to launch our app onto a physical device as well, and I'll walk you through the steps that are required a little bit later on. Now, if you have more than one emulator device, you'll see them show up here. So select the one that you want to build your app for, and then go ahead and click on the play button. Now, in order to see the progress of the running of your app, you'll see it inside your console down here, and you'll see the various stages that it's going through. And the part where it initializes Gradle usually takes the longest, so give it a few minutes and it should launch automatically onto the phone. Now, once it's done, the loading bar down here will disappear and you should see the Flutter demo app show up on screen. Now, this is a really simple counter app. As soon as you push the button, then the counter goes up, and that's pretty much all it does. But if you've gotten this far, then congratulations, you have completed all of the steps in Windows setup, and you are now ready to start building Flutter apps for Android development. Now, in the coming lessons, I'll be running most of the apps in the iOS simulator, but it's effectively the same if you're using the Android emulator. Now, if you're ready, you can go ahead and delete this testing app and head over to the start of the course where we'll build our very first app.